Republic of Kosovo is situated in Balkan Peninsula. It has total area of approximately 11,000 square kilometers and population of less than 2 million based on census from 2011. Administratively, it is divided in municipalities. Vaccination is considered as one of the most cost-effective procedures in intervention. The main objective of expanded program of immunization is to achieve high coverage rate with all mandatory vaccines, especially during the 12 years, the first year of age. National Institute of Public Health of Kosovo designs and approves programs and plans for immunization. Mobile vaccination services are being conducted in some rural distant areas. The table in front of you, it's about the mandatory vaccination schedule during the year 2015-2016. As you can see, apart from the two vaccines, BCG and hepatitis, which are administered at the maternity wards, all other vaccines are being administered at the primary health care units. A lot quality technique is used to determine whether a lot or a group has achieved a particular standard of performance by looking at some members of that group. Lot quality technique is found to be very useful when investigating the coverage rate of vaccine-preventable diseases because it creates a clear picture about morbidity and mortality rate. Routine vaccination coverage in Kosovo during the years 2012-2015, based on the monthly reporting from the family medicine centers, shows that the coverage is pretty high and its rates ranges from 91% to 99%. To create a precise impression about the coverage rate, it is very important to compare these rates reported from the family medicine centers with the results from this survey. The objectives of the studies are to assess whether this monthly reporting is from the health institutions coincide with the actual situation of the field, as well as to assess vaccination status of children between 12 and 23 months of age, time interval between doses of the vaccines, if the vaccination is done at the appropriate age, the possession of the vaccination card filled in proper and clear way, if the coverage rate is according to the history, if the card is lost, and the reason for vaccination failure. Methods. This is a cross-sectional study. The target group was 29,000 children between 12 and 23 months of age in 26 municipalities of Kosovo. Number of lots is 26, or each municipality represents one lot. Accuracy level is said to be plus minus 5%, confidence level 95%. Total sample size is 390. Minimum lot sample size is 15. Random sample selection was an important element in validity of collected data. Data collection was completed in 3 days, from 24 to 26 of April 2016, by using two questionnaires, immunization form for infants and reasons for immunization failure. Evaluation criteria. If the child has received all the vaccines in accordance with the immunization schedule, it was considered fully vaccinated. If the child hasn't received any of the vaccine, it was considered as partially vaccinated. If the child is not vaccinated at all or didn't receive any vaccine at all, it was classified as not vaccinated. Inclusion criteria was to include all the children born between 24th of April 2014 to 26th of April 2015. Results. The main source of our study was the personal vaccination card. When parents were asked about the possession of the vaccination card, out of 390 children, 367 or 96.4% of them had vaccination card in good condition. In 14 cases, the parents declared the child didn't have vaccination card, but lost it for some reason, and there were no children without vaccination card. Vaccination status shows that children, based on the history and the concordant history, shows that out of 390 children, 325, or 83.3 of them, were fully vaccinated. 62, or 15.9, were partially, and only 3 were not vaccinated. The fully vaccinated were considered all the children who have received 1 dose of BCG, 3 doses of DPT, OPV, hepatitis B, and MMR, 1 dose. Distribution of data by gender. Out of 171 females, 145 were fully vaccinated, 24 were partially, while from the males, out of 290, 180 were fully vaccinated, 38 were partially vaccinated. There were just 3 children classified as unvaccinated, 2 girls and 1 boy. According to the court, there were 375 children vaccinated, or 97.5, while according to the court in history, this vaccination reached 100%, which was proven by the scarf on their hand. As far as hepatitis B concerns, even though that this vaccine was introduced later, the data shows that the coverage with this vaccine is pretty high. So with hepatitis B, there are 375, or 97.5, children vaccinated, whereas with the 3rd dose, for example, this number was 368, or 94.5. As far as children with DPT and OPV, we have the following results. DPT 1st dose have received 374, or 97.5. 97.5, DPT through 370, and DPT3 345. We can see that this percentage, according to the coordinate history, is slightly higher. Also, as far as OPV concerns, out of 390, 360 have received the 1st dose, while 353, for example, have received the 3rd dose. Children vaccinated with MMR vaccine, according to the coordinate history, the data collected shows as follows. Out of 390 children, only 314 of them, or 80.5%, have received this vaccine, while according to the coordinate history, this percentage is 83.3%. The following table shows the comparison of coverage rate of each antigen by card versus card in history in Kosovo during the lot 2016. Based on this table, we can see that, for example, as already mentioned, the coverage rate according to the card in history is slightly higher comparing with the coverage just by card. Also, it's very noticeable that, for example, we can see here a dropout rate between the vaccines. For example, in case of BCG, this percentage is 98%, while regarding MMR, it's only 80%. Also, we can notice the dropout rate between the 3 doses of the same vaccine. For example, DPT 1st dose is 98, the 3rd dose is 95%. When we analyze the interval between the doses for antigens DPT, OPV, hepatitis B, according to the court, we see that even the recommended interval is 4 weeks or 28 days. Many times this interval is longer. For example, in the brackets you have the number of children, and you can see that many times the longest interval varies between 7 to 8 weeks. So the average is 5 to 6 weeks between for example, the 1st dose or the 2nd dose. When parents were asked about the reasons for vaccination failure, we got the following questions. For example, 26.2% stated that child was sick and not brought for vaccination. 16.4% child was sick, brought but not vaccinated. 13.1% parents were too busy. 9.8 family problems including mother sickness. 8.2 vaccinator told the child is fully vaccinated. 1.6 vaccinator is missing, and 24.6 stated some other reasons. Conclusions. The vaccine coverage with all antigens was found to be satisfactory, above 95%. Level of coverage with MMR vaccine is lower, according to the card, but it's 80.5, while according to the card and history is 83.3. Therefore, the precise time of administration of MMR vaccine is very important. The intervals between the doses sometimes are longer and do not coincide with the immunization policy. Recommendations. Training of vaccination team is very important, especially on the field of vaccination registration in the level of health units as well as personal vaccination card. It is very important to shorten the interval between the doses and also to decrease the dropout rates. Also, the other recommendation is to assist municipalities to prepare local strategies and plans for 2017 in order to increase the immunization level and improve quality standards. Social mobilization and activities for increasing parents' awareness about the importance of vaccination and its timeliness. Opening new immunization units to avoid campaign form of immunization. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Fitim, for giving us insight into the situation in Kosovo. Okay, question, please. Professor Silvia Bino.
You presented the data from all lots in your presentation, first one. And the second one, what's the difference from lot quality survey and the data you have from your usual monitoring, especially for measles? Because I saw the measles coverage was quite low.
That was one of the objectives. In fact, we have tried to compare the data which was reported from the primary health system or family medicine centers which are responsible for administering vaccine procedures, and to see if this data is correct. Therefore, we have started this study, and we came to the conclusion that many times, even though that the children were vaccinated, the personal cards are not being filled properly. So many times the child has been vaccinated, but in the cards, they have no information about that.
Okay.
Sylvia, it is another explanation. It was very important timeliness.
Ismail, we don't hear you, please. So some additional explanation.
Okay, it's working?
No, it's better.
Okay, thank you. Even it is old methodology, I don't know, but it is a very useful one. Thank you very much. Second is that for us it was important to know the timeliness. When the child, because it's given as a MMR vaccine simultaneously with DPT and OPV. Sometimes physicians, they avoid giving simultaneously, so they more prioritize DPT and OPV than MMR. And for us, it's very important to give MMR at 12. So in calculation, we include children that got MMR at 12. At 12, yes. And it is also additional...
Sorry, we don't hear you quite well, I think, yeah. And it's because you are talking about something very, very interesting. So you are giving together MMR with
OPV and booster dose with DPT. Health personnel avoid sometimes giving all three vaccines in the same times, which are 5 different antigens. So they avoid to give MMR and give priority to DPT and OPV. So for us, it's very important to give MMR at 12 to avoid and prevent measles outbreaks. So if 80% of the children under investigation, they had MMR at 12, but others had MMR at 15 and 18 months, which was same recommendation based on old vaccination schedule that we had 3 or 4 years ago.
So it means that your methodology was not appropriate to estimate MMR. It was appropriate for something that Fitim inappropriate weight put. It was okay for BCG, for DTP, and for hepatitis B, but not for MMR, because in every country we start with 12 months. Usually, I don't know now, in Kosovo, it's between 12 and 15 months, it means...
No, Dragan,
yes,
listen.
yes.
No.
Sorry.
No.
So it means that if you really want to have appropriate information, not to have underestimation, you need to increase the age.
Okay.
Sylvia knows what I'm talking about.
And I'm talking about the quality of services in the same time. It's not only coverage rate that we are estimating, but also it is a quality of the services. It is not underestimation, because we know in other slide that Fitim had but had to delete it, it is also the table when the children that are older than 12 months immunized. But here, fully immunized children are the children that completed primary vaccination at 12.
Okay, I think that in the methodology was quite clear for which vaccines this was used. But
yes.
Okay, maybe we can discuss a little bit later. Okay, any other question, please? Yes, Nicoletta, please.
Sorry. Thank you for this very interesting presentation. I would like to ask you, perhaps I have not noticed, how did you go for identifying the cards or the family within the municipal, within each lot? What was your identification or sampling?
How did we select the children?
Yes, what is the, yes. What was your strategy for selecting / sampling strategy? And my next question is, did I understand well that you have calculated the sample size, the necessary sample size for the whole study for the 26 municipalities?
In fact, we just followed the regulation according to the manual from the WHO. And based on that manual, everything is written, so you don't really have to calculate. So in this case, for example, if you put the level of accuracy 5%, plus minus 5%, and level of confidence interval you put at 95%, then when these two rows, they match, there you have the sample. In this case, it was 384. But when you divide 384 with the number of municipalities, then you get like 14.7. Since it is called minimum sample size, and we cannot find these 0.7 children, then this size can be increased. In this case, we rounded at 15. When we multiply 15 with municipalities, then we get 390. Children. So that was the sample size for whole country. In this case, in this case, for every lot, we had to find 15 children. So the criteria was, for example, like this. If we go in a, for example, we have the municipality with a number of villages, and we have the estimated number of the children in every village. Then we cumulatively add these children in the total. For example, I have here, if you allow me, this is, for example, this is a backslide.
Can we have a backup slide, please?
Anyway, we get, for example, the total number of the children, for example, in Obilic, in municipality of Obilic, which was 271. In that case, for selecting the number of, we have to select 15 children out of 271. So in this case, we use, for example, the simplest method. To, for example, we select the first child will be the first one. Out of that, for example, we took the banknote, the last numbers of the banknote, for example, and we went in that way by adding until we reached number 15. The possibility of having more children is higher in the villages or, for example, in city of village, where you have more children. Whether, for example, in Pristina, for example, or other big cities, when you have more dense population, then you get the map or you sketch the area, the city. And then you divide this map into 10 horizontal and 10 vertical lines. This way you get 100 fields. Out of this 100 fields, for example, if you have, for example, in Pristina to interview, for example, let's say 7 children, then you randomly select 7 fields. And then you go in the center of that area, for example, or this is the same even for the villages. You go on the center of the village, you take the bottle or you take a pan or something, you spin the pan, and then you get the direction in which you're moving. You count the number of houses, and then, for example, you select again, for example, with a banknote, the number from which you're starting. In this way, you get the first child. If the house where you're supposed to find the first child, there is no children which belongs to this age group, then you go to the next house till you find the first children. If, for example, you find twins, then you get information only from the one child. So more or less, this is for villages, and I don't know if I was clear.
Okay, more or less. Maybe you can give us explanation why you use this technique, why not epi-cluster survey that usually use less number of people. And the second question, I'm sure since your sample is calculated like that you also calculate the confidence interval, because the precision was plus minus 5%.
Yes. There was few reasons why we did this method. One of the reasons was that we used this method before. So on the study, we had also the comparison of the results from the 2016 with 2010, but due to the limitation of the number of slides, we have to remove a lot of slides. I don't know who was with me in the group. During the review module, I had 46 slides, but I had to remove all of them, and that was the first. So we want to compare the results from 2010 and 2016. That was the first reason. The second reason was that, as you already mentioned, in this method, in lot quality technique, you can set the level of confidence interval and level of accuracy. And here, there is also here. The tables, for example, is how to estimate a sample size. If you, for example, put a level of accuracy on plus minus 5% and 95% level of confidence, where these two numbers matches, that's the total sample size. So you don't have really to calculate. And the other thing is, because this method is cheap, we could go with plus minus 1%, but in that case, we need more resources, we need more people, we need more money, we need more vehicles. I mean, and it will take more time, definitely.
Okay, obviously this is a very interesting topic, because in many of our countries we are not quite sure about the administrative method for calculating immunization coverage. But I think that we need to go on further. So thank you. If there is no any other comments. Oh, maybe just one last one. So you already congratulated.
My name is Ehab Basha, EPI Egypt. About the confidence interval. The confidence interval we use in sample calculation. After we finish, we should recalculate the confidence interval, because it depends on the real results we will have the probability, what about the proportion. This will affect the standard error, okay? Also because this table, we should take this sample for each stratum. You mean, if you want to represent this result on the level of district, so we need this sample on the level for each one district. If we need this sample for governorate to represent the governorate level, so we need the sample from each governorate.
No, that's okay, but he presents the results on the national level. For sure that it is not possible to give results for each and every district. You're quite right, you need to multiply this with the number of districts. So the sample, if you really want to give us information about every district, the sample is then huge. You're quite right.
Even on national level, we should calculate again the confidence.
Of course, that's something that we are asking, but obviously it's
Thank you.
We just follow, as I already mentioned, we just follow the rules, the regulation based on, you cannot see it here, but there is a book called Monitoring Immunization Services Using Blood Quality Techniques, published by Department of Vaccines and Biologics, by World Health Organization, and we didn't invent anything. We just follow the rules. That was it.
Yeah, that's okay.
We cannot change something that somebody had already said before us.
That's okay, Fitim. Nobody is asking, especially our colleague. He just wanted to say that the point estimate is not enough, that you also need to give us the confidence interval. But that's okay. We can finish. Okay, thank you.